Welcome to our course. I'm Ann Waltner and I teach in the history department at the University of Minnesota, and I am the chief designer of this online course on the novel Dream of the Red Chamber, which is inspired by the San Francisco Opera production of Dream of the Red Chamber, which will take place in September of 2016. The course will focus on exploring the afterlives of the novel. All novels have afterlives in the imaginations of people who've read them, but in this particular case with Dream of the Red Chamber, the afterlives are extraordinarily well documented. The novel circulated for 30 or 40 years in manuscript form after it was first written in the middle of the 18th century. And as it circulated in manuscript, it picked up commentary. People who would borrow the manuscript would write comments on it. People who copied the manuscript would write comments on it. So the very beginning of the history of the life of the novel, people were talking about the novel, responding to the novel in written form. It was finally published in 1791, and the version that was published in 1791 was 120 chapters. Now, almost everyone who studied the novel believes that Cao Xueqin, the author of the first 80 chapters, did not write the last 40 chapters. There are all kinds of arguments that have been made about how we know that to be the case, and the course will talk about some of those, but in general, it's pretty clear that what we have is a disjuncture between the first 80 and the last 40. And in fact, some scholars have even called the last 40 chapters of the novel a sequel to the novel. Nonetheless, the novel is now almost always published as 120 chapters, and I think it's read as one novel, even though there is this problem with the ending. Sequels to the novel began being published almost immediately. People would write things called a response to the Dream of the Red Chamber, Shadows of the Dream of Red Chamber, The Latter Dream of the Red Chamber. And commentaries were also written. There would be interlinear commentaries, which means exactly what you would think it would mean. Commentators would write between the lines of the novel and tell you, kind of help you interpret what is going on in the novel. Some early editions of the novel actually solicited commentary. They would say, we are looking for commentators to this novel, and if you have commentary, send it to such and such a place. So throughout the 19th century, we get responses to the novel in terms of commentary. We get responses to the novel in terms of poems written on the novel. We get illustrated versions of the novel. We get freestanding illustrations. There are New Year's prints that are published that have to do with the novel. New Year's prints are woodblock prints that could be black and white. They could be in color. The more elaborate ones are often in color. And they're called New Year's prints because people would buy them and then put them up on their walls at New Year's time. As time went on, the story was retold in various dramatic forms. It was retold as plays, as operas. It was retold in a genre called pingtan, which is a couple of performers and a couple of musical instruments. And of course, with the coming of more modern technology, movies and television, there were movies made about the novel, and there were television series made about the novel. There was a very famous television series made in 1987 and a second one made in 2010. As of 2012, the 1987 television series had been rebroadcast 700 times. And I think that gives you some kind of sense of the massive popularity of the story of the opera, the story of the novel. That gives you some kind of sense of the massive popularity of the story of the novel. There has been enormous scholarship on the novel. In fact, there is a subsection of the study of Chinese literature in China that is known by a term that translates as redology, the story of the dream of the red chamber. And in fact, there are a number of series of TV lectures, not just one or two lectures, but some of the TV series are like 60 lectures on the novel Dream of the Red Chamber. And a number of people in various universities, including American universities, have taught entire semester-long seminars on the novel. I am one of those people who's taught an entire semester-long seminar on the novel. I won't try to explain the greatness of the novel to you here. You should read it yourself in Chinese if you can, if not in the translation by David Hawkes, which is called Story of the Stone. But one of the things that I will do is talk a little bit about what about the novel I think makes it particularly appealing for people who want to write sequels, for people who want to make television shows, for people who want to design an opera. It is a vast, sprawling novel with lots of space in it, and it has an ending that is not very satisfactory. As I mentioned, it's usually read in the 120 chapter version. Most scholars believe that the ending was written by different authors. There are lots of loose ends, and for a lot of people, the ending does not quite ring true. I won't give away now to why the ending doesn't ring true. I will just leave you with that thought. So that leaves a very particular kind of room for people who want to work on the novel, for people who want to retell the novel. There's a very particular kind of space, I think. And it's into that space that the opera by David Henry Hwang and Bright Sheng has stepped. Their opera exists in a long tradition of retelling, of tweaking details, and of coming to terms with the ending. Coming to terms with the ending in ways which involve telling the ending slightly differently. So if you have a chance to see the opera, do so. And if you don't have a chance to see the opera, I think there's still a lot in this course that will interest you.